Hey there, night wanderer. Before we hit the road and take that fateful detour off a lonely stretch of highway, before the fog rolls in and the whispers start to creep into your ears, I want to welcome you properly. Grab your headphones, dim the lights, and settle in, because tonight we're going somewhere no map dares to show. A forgotten town, waiting in the dark, hungry for secrets you didn't even know you were carrying. Hit that like button now if you're ready to feel the chill, and make sure you subscribe. Don't forget the bell so the next nightmare finds you the moment it's ready. Because once we start, there's no turning back. Are you ready to meet the Whispering Hollow? Let's begin. It started with a flat tire on a forgotten stretch of highway, the kind where the asphalt cracks like old skin, and the only company is the wind howling through skeletal trees. Mia gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, as the SUV lurched to a stop. The engine ticked down like a dying heartbeat. Outside, the world was a smear of twilight gray, endless fields of withered cornstalks swaying under a bruised sky. "Great," she muttered, glancing at her phone. No signal, of course. In the passenger seat, her boyfriend, Alex, chuckled nervously. "Adventure, right? That's what you wanted." Behind them, their friends, Jenna, the skeptic with a camera slung around her neck, and Tyler, the history buff who never shut up about urban legends, shifted uneasily. They'd been driving from Chicago to Denver, chasing ghost towns and abandoned factories for their YouTube channel, Urban Shadows. This detour off I-80 was supposed to be a shortcut. Now it felt like a trap. As Alex knelt by the wheel, cursing under his breath, Mia spotted it, a weathered sign half buried in the overgrowth. "Welcome to Eldridge Hollow, Est 1887. The letters were faded, etched with what looked like claw marks. Beyond, a dirt road snaked into the gloom, flanked by crumbling farmhouses. "Guys," Mia called, her voice tighter than she intended, "there's a town up ahead. Maybe we can find help." They walked, flashlights cutting through the gathering dark. The air grew thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something metallic like blood. Eldridge Hollow unfolded around them like a fever dream, boarded-up windows staring like empty eyes, rusted swings creaking in the windless night, a church steeple tilted at an unnatural angle. No lights, no sounds except their footsteps crunching on gravel. "This place is a gold mine," Jenna whispered, snapping photos, but her flash revealed odd details, doors ajar just enough to suggest recent movement, fresh footprints in the mud that matched no one's shoes. Tyler, ever the enthusiast, pulled out his notebook. "Eldridge Hollow. I think I've heard of this. Old mining town, wiped out in the 20s. Something about a curse, the Whisperer. Local folklore says it was a spirit born from a collapsed shaft, feeding on miners' fears until they turned on each other. Bodies found twisted, like they'd been wrung out from the inside." "Save the campfire stories," Alex scoffed, but his eyes darted to the shadows. Mia felt it too, a prickling at the back of her neck, as if the town was listening. They reached the town square, dominated by a dry fountain crusted with black mold. In its center stood a statue, a man in miner's garb, face eroded to a featureless mask, one arm outstretched as if beckoning. As they approached, a low murmur rippled through the air. Words or wind? Mia strained to hear. "Come closer. Share your secrets." "Did you hear that?" she asked, heart pounding. "Hear what?" Jenna frowned, but Tyler's face paled. They decided to split up. Bad idea, Mia knew, but desperation won. Alex and Tyler headed for what looked like an old garage, hoping for tools or a spare tire. Mia and Jenna explored the general store, its shelves sagging under dust-covered cans. Inside, the air was stale, laced with rot. Jenna's camera clicked away, capturing faded posters. "Beware the Whisperer, it knows your sins." As Mia rifled through drawers, a scrap of paper caught her eye. A yellowed journal page. The voices started soft, whispers in the dark, pulling at memories I'd buried.
Pa killed Ma in a rage, but no one knew. Now it does. It's making me remember, making me feel it again." The writing devolved into frantic scratches.
"Mia, look at this." Jenna held up a mirror from behind the counter. In its cracked surface, their reflections stared back, but Jenna's eyes were wrong, too wide, pupils dilated to black voids. Mia blinked, and it was gone. "What the hell?" Jenna laughed it off, but her voice cracked. Outside, a scream pierced the night. Alex's voice. They bolted toward the garage, hearts thundering. There, Tyler knelt over Alex, who clutched his arm. Blood seeped through his fingers. "Something bit me," Alex gasped. "In the shadows. Felt like teeth, but human." Tyler shone his light. The wound was a perfect bite mark, skin puckered like it had been sucked inward. "We need to get out," Mia said, panic rising, but the road back was gone, swallowed by fog that rolled in like a living thing. They barricaded themselves in the church, its pews warped and splintered. Candles flickered to life on their own, casting elongated shadows that danced unnaturally. As they huddled, backstories spilled out like confessions. Alex admitted his gambling addiction, how he'd stolen from Mia's savings to fund it. "I was going to pay it back," he whispered, eyes haunted. Jenna confessed her affair, with Tyler of all people. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. Tyler just stared, silent, his face twisting in guilt. Mia felt a surge of betrayal, but something else, too, a whisper in her ear, soft and insidious. "You knew. Deep down, you always knew. And your own secret? The accident? The one that killed your sister? It wasn't an accident, was it?" She shook her head, but the voice persisted, burrowing into her mind. The entity, the whisperer, wasn't just haunting the town. It was inside them, dredging up buried traumas, twisting them into weapons. The night deepened. Supernatural occurrences escalated. Shadows peeled from walls, forming shapes that mimicked their loved ones. Alex's dead father leering with accusation. Jenna's aborted child crawling with malformed limbs. Body horror crept in. Tyler's skin began to ripple as if something writhed beneath. He clawed at his arm, revealing veins pulsing black, sprouting tendrils that burrowed back in. "It's remaking me," he gasped, flesh bubbling like boiling wax. Interpersonal conflicts ignited. Alex accused Jenna of sabotage, fists clenched. Mia intervened, but the whispers amplified their rage. "Hit her. She deserves it." A fight broke out, punches landing with wet thuds. In the chaos, the church doors burst open. Fog poured in, carrying silhouettes, former townsfolk, bodies contorted, limbs elongated, faces melted into perpetual screams. They fled into the streets, the town alive now. Houses groaned, windows shattering like breaking bones. The statue in the square animated, its stone arm creaking downward, pointing at them. "Run!" Mia yelled, but Tyler tripped, ankle twisting unnaturally. As they pulled him up, his leg changed. Bone protruded, not broken, but reshaped, curving like a scythe. Pacing shifted, slow dread in the fog-choked alleys, whispers building to a cacophony of their sins. Then action, chased by entities that slithered from storm drains, bodies fused in grotesque amalgamations, a miner with multiple heads, mouths chanting forgotten names. They reached the mine entrance on the town's edge, a yawning maw boarded up but splintering. "This is where it started," Tyler wheezed, his voice doubling, echoing with another's. Inside, the air was frigid, walls veined with luminescent fungi that pulsed like hearts. Deeper, they found the collapse site, skeletons entwined, bones fused in agony. The whisperer revealed itself, not a ghost, but a fungal mass, tendrils spreading from the earth, feeding on psychic residue. It had evolved, using spores to infiltrate minds, bodies. Alex inhaled one, convulsing as his torso bloated, skin stretching translucent, organs shifting visibly. Climax built. Mia confronted it, armed with fire from a found lantern. But as flames licked the mass, visions assaulted her, alternate realities where she was the killer, the betrayer.
Friends turned on each other. Jenna gouged Tyler's eyes, screaming about visions of his infidelity manifesting as worms in her brain. In the end, Mia escaped alone, staggering back to the highway. The tire fixed itself? The town vanished behind her, just fields. But as she drove away, glances in the rear view showed her reflection whispering back, "Was it real, or are you still there, dreaming in the hollow?" She blinked, and the road stretched endless. Whispers returned, softer now in her head. The twist, perhaps Eldridge Hollow never existed. Maybe it was her mind, fractured from guilt, projecting the horror. Or worse, she was the whisperer, luring others in, her road trip a loop, eternal. But as sirens wailed in the distance, approaching her crashed SUV. Wait, crashed? Reality frayed. Was she ever on a trip? Or had she been here all along, whispering to herself? The SUV's headlights cut a narrow tunnel through the fog as Mia drove west on what she swore was I-80. The dashboard clock read 3:17 a.m., though she could have sworn they'd only been in Eldridge Hollow for 6 hours at most. Her hands shook on the wheel. The bite on Alex's arm, Tyler's leg twisting like wet clay, Jenna's eyes rolling back until only white showed. Those images looped behind her eyelids every time she blinked. She hadn't looked in the rearview mirror for the last 20 miles. She was afraid of what might be sitting in the back seat. The whispers had followed her out. At first they were faint, like a radio station bleeding through static. You left them to it. Then they grew intimate, as though someone were breathing directly into her ear from the passenger seat. "You always leave, Mia. Your sister in the car, Mom in the hospital, now them." She turned the radio up until the speakers distorted. Static. Every station was static. A green highway sign appeared out of the mist. Eldridge Hollow, 2 miles. Her foot slammed the brake. The SUV fishtailed, tires screaming, before grinding to a halt on the shoulder. She stared at the sign. It hadn't been there before. She was certain of it. They'd come in from the east. The town had been off a nameless county road. There was no way the interstate looped back to it. The sign's reflective letters seemed to pulse faintly, like bioluminescence under the headlights. Mia killed the engine. Silence rushed in, thick and expectant. She sat there for a long minute, listening to her own heartbeat. Then she reached for her phone. Still no signal. Battery at 4%. She got out. The air was colder than it had any right to be for early autumn in Nebraska. Her breath plumed. The cornfields on either side of the highway had been replaced by dense forest, tall pines that hadn't existed an hour ago. The road itself looked wrong, the yellow lines fresher, the asphalt darker, as though it had been poured yesterday. She walked toward the exit ramp the sign pointed to. Gravel crunched under her boots. Halfway there, she stopped. Footprints. Her own footprints leading into the forest from the ramp. Fresh, mud still wet on the edges. She looked down at her boots. Clean. Mia backed away until the bumper pressed against her legs. She got in, locked the doors, and started the engine again. This time she didn't look at the sign as she floored it past the exit. The whispers laughed. An hour later, or 5 minutes, time had begun to slip. She saw lights ahead. A gas station, neon beer signs flickering in the haze. Relief flooded her so completely that tears stung her eyes. She pulled into the empty lot and stumbled inside. The bell over the door jingled. An old man in a flannel shirt stood behind the counter, reading a newspaper dated October 12th, 1923. He looked up slowly. "You're bleeding, miss." Mia glanced down. Her left forearm was lacerated, 4 parallel scratches welling fresh blood. She had no memory of how it happened. I need a phone," she managed. The clerk pointed to a wall-mounted rotary phone beside the coffee machine. Mia lifted the receiver. Dead tone. "Where am I?" she asked. The old man folded his paper carefully. "You're in Eldridge Hollow, same as always." Her stomach dropped. "No, I left. I drove away." He gave her a sad smile. "Folks always think they leave, but the Hollow don't let go easy. It keeps what it's tasted." Mia backed toward the door. The bell jingled again as she pushed out into the lot. The gas station was gone. She stood in the town square, the dry fountain in front of her. The statue's stone arm was still pointing directly at her now. Dawn light filtered gray through the clouds, revealing details she hadn't noticed before. The statue's face wasn't featureless. It was hers. Eroded, yes, but unmistakably her own features, mouth open in a silent scream. Something moved at the edge of her vision. She turned. Alex stood at the mouth of an alley, shirt soaked dark with blood. His bite wound had spread, black veins threading up his neck like roots. He smiled with too many teeth. "You came back, Mia. It missed you." Behind him, Jenna emerged, neck twisted at an impossible angle, head lollying as she walked. Tyler followed, dragging one leg that ended in a cloven hoof of bone. Their eyes were solid black. Mia ran. She ran through streets that rearranged themselves as she passed, houses sliding sideways like stage flats, alleys lengthening into infinity. The whispers were no longer in her head. They poured from every window, every storm drain, every rusted mailbox. "Tell us your secrets, Mia. Tell us why you let your sister drown. Tell us why you didn't visit Mom before she died. Tell us why you pretended not to hear Jenna and Tyler in the tent that night outside Tulsa." She burst into the church. The pews were filled now, rows of figures in outdated clothing, faces melted into smooth anonymity, heads turning in perfect unison to watch her. Candles burned with black flame. On the altar lay her phone, screen cracked but lit. A video was playing on loop, grainy footage of herself standing at this exact spot hours earlier, screaming as unseen hands dragged Alex into the shadows. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m., the same minute her dashboard clock had frozen on. Mia picked up the phone. The video kept playing, but now it showed her from behind, reaching for the device. Real time. She was watching herself watch herself. The congregation began to hum, a low, guttural note that vibrated in her teeth. She bolted again, out the side door, down into the cellar she hadn't known existed. Stone steps spiraled deep. The air grew warmer, moist, fungal. At the bottom, a cavern opened up, the mine collapse Tyler had described. But the skeletons weren't human anymore. They were fused into a single colossal shape, limbs braided, skulls nested like Russian dolls, all facing inward toward a pulsing mass of fungal tendrils. The Whisperer. It didn't have a face, but it turned toward her all the same. "Welcome home," it said, and the voice was her own. Mia fell to her knees. Memories flooded in, not hers but the town's, centuries of settlers arriving full of hope, only to have their hidden shames excavated, magnified, weaponized against each other until the community tore itself apart from the inside. The Whisperer didn't kill directly. It simply made people confront what they'd buried, until the weight of truth crushed them. She saw her sister's car sinking into the lake. She saw herself choosing not to dive deeper because the water was cold and dark. She saw Mom's hospital room, the morphine drip she could have increased but didn't. She saw Jenna and Tyler tangled in the tent, heard her own pretended sleep. And beneath it all, older memories. Miners in 1923 hearing whispers about stolen gold, turning picks on each other. A preacher in 1890 confessing to his congregation the children he'd fathered and abandoned. A Revolutionary War deserter hiding in these hills, driven mad by voices recounting his cowardice until he hanged himself from the very tree that now shaded the square.
The hollow didn't curse people. It reflected them. Mia looked up at the fungal mass. "What do you want from me?" "To stay," it answered. "To feed me your secrets forever. To become the voice that welcomes the next one." It didn't have a face, but it turned toward her all the same. "Welcome home," it said, and the voice was her own. Mia fell to her knees. Memories flooded in, not hers but the town's, centuries of settlers arriving full of hope, only to have their hidden shames excavated, magnified, weaponized against each other until the community tore itself apart from the inside. The Whisperer didn't kill directly. It simply made people confront what they'd buried, until the weight of truth crushed them. She saw her sister's car sinking into the lake. She saw herself choosing not to dive deeper because the water was cold and dark. She saw Mom's hospital room, the morphine drip she could have increased but didn't. She saw Jenna and Tyler tangled in the tent, heard her own pretended sleep. And beneath it all, older memories. Miners in 1923 hearing whispers about stolen gold, turning picks on each other. A preacher in 1890 confessing to his congregation the children he'd fathered and abandoned. A Revolutionary War deserter hiding in these hills, driven mad by voices recounting his cowardice until he hanged himself from the very tree that now shaded the square. The hollow didn't curse people. It reflected them. Mia looked up at the fungal mass. "What do you want from me?" "To stay," it answered. "To feed me your secrets forever. To become the voice that welcomes the next ones." She laughed then, a broken, desperate sound. "No." She stood. From her pocket, she pulled the lighter she'd used to ignite the lantern in the mine earlier. In her other hand, the journal page she'd taken from the general store, the one about the miner whose father killed his mother. She held the page over the flame. The Whisperer recoiled, tendrils scratching. Paper caught. Fire spread up her sleeve, but she didn't drop it. She walked forward, pressing the burning page into the fungal mass. Spores erupted in a choking cloud, but she kept walking, pushing deeper, letting the flames lick across her skin. The cavern filled with screaming, not hers but every voice the hollow had ever harvested, released at once. Light exploded behind her eyes. Then nothing. Mia woke on the shoulder of I-80. Dawn proper this time, golden and ordinary. The SUV idled beside her. No blood on her arm. Phone at 87% battery, full signal. A text from Alex. "Where are you? We're at the Denny's in North Platte waiting. Hurry up, slowpoke." She stared at the message for a long time. The cornfields stretched endless and normal on both sides. No forest. No exit sign. She got in the car and drove west. 3 hours later, she pulled into the Denny's lot. Alex, Jenna, and Tyler waved from a booth by the window, laughing over coffee. They looked exactly as they had yesterday morning, before the flat tire, before the detour. Mia sat down. Jenna passed her a menu. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." Mia smiled. It felt natural on her face. "Just tired. Bad dreams." Under the table, her fingers traced the faint ridges of 4 parallel scars on her forearm, scars that hadn't been there yesterday. As the others talked about the route ahead, she heard it. The softest whisper curled inside her own thoughts like a secret she'd always known. Welcome home. She sipped her coffee and didn't tell them they'd never really left. The Denny's smelled like burnt coffee and bacon grease. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, too bright after the endless gray of the hollow. Mia sat in the booth with her friends, forcing herself to eat hash browns that tasted like ash. Alex was recounting some dumb story about a roadside diner in Iowa where the waitress had called him sugar in a creepy voice. Jenna laughed too loud. Tyler scrolled through his phone, showing them potential stops for the channel. Abandoned asylums, haunted hotels, the usual. Everything was normal. Everything was wrong. Mia's scars itched under her sleeve. When she scratched them absent-mindedly, Jenna noticed. "Whoa, what happened to your arm?" Mia glanced down. The 4 parallel lines had darkened overnight, raised and angry, edged with faint black veins that hadn't been there at dawn. "Cat," she lied. "Stray at a rest stop." Tyler frowned. "We didn't stop anywhere with cats." The table went quiet for a beat too long. Then Alex changed the subject to gas mileage, and the moment passed. That night they camped outside Cheyenne, a state park with actual people around, RVs, kids on bikes, the comforting smell of campfires. Mia volunteered for first watch, claiming she wasn't tired. She sat by the dying embers long after the others zipped into their tents. The whispers returned, softer than before, almost conversational. "They don't remember," the voice said. It was hers, but older somehow, layered with echoes. "I made sure of that. Clean slate for them, but not for you." Mia poked the fire with a stick. Sparks rose into the star-filled sky. "Why me?" she whispered aloud. "Because you burned me, and things that burn remember." She looked at her arm. The black veins had spread another inch toward her wrist. The next morning, Tyler woke screaming. They found him half out of his sleeping bag, clawing at his throat. Red welts ringed his neck like fingerprints. He swore something had tried to strangle him in his dream, something with Mia's face. "It said you were still down there," he gasped once he could speak, "that you never left." Jenna tried to laugh it off as sleep paralysis, but her hands shook as she packed the tent. Alex kept shooting Mia sidelong glances. They drove in near silence for hours. Somewhere in Utah, Jenna finally cracked. "Okay, what the hell is going on? Tyler's neck, your arm, the way you keep staring at nothing. Did something happen back in Nebraska?" Mia almost told them. The words clawed up her throat. The town, the mine, the fire, the way she'd felt the whisperer die screaming inside her skull. Instead, she said, "Bad dreams, that's all." But the whispers laughed at the lie. That afternoon, they stopped at a desolate pull-off overlooking Red Rock canyons. Jenna wanted photos for the channel. While she and Alex scouted angles, Tyler cornered Mia by the SUV. "I looked it up," he said quietly. "Eldridge Hollow. There's nothing online. No records, no old maps, nothing, like it never existed." Mia's stomach twisted. Maybe we got the name wrong. Or maybe it got us. He showed her his phone, a blank search page. Then he refreshed, and the signal dropped to 0 bars, even though they were on a ridge with clear line of sight. Alex's eyes met hers. "Mia, I think whatever you did back there, it hitched a ride." Night fell as they reached Moab. They checked into a cheap motel with neon vacancy signs flickering like dying fireflies. Separate rooms this time, tension thick enough to taste. Mia locked her door, showered until the water ran cold, and sat on the bed staring at her arm. The black veins now reached her elbow, branching like roots. When she pressed them, they pulsed faintly, as though something moved beneath the skin. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. "You can't outrun roots." Attached was a photo, the town square fountain, taken from above. The statue's face was clearer now, definitely hers, but the mouth had grown wider, teeth visible. Mia dropped the phone. A knock at the door. Alex's voice. "Hey, you decent? Jenna's freaking out, says she saw something outside her window." Mia opened the door. Alex looked pale, eyes red-shot. "Tyler's gone, left his phone on his bed. Door was wide open." They searched the motel lot, the highway, the dark desert beyond. No sign, just Tyler's footprints in the dust, leading toward the open expanse. And then nothing, like he'd been erased mid-step. Jenna sat on the curb crying. "This is like that night again.
The fog, the voices. I remember now. I remember dying. Alex turned to Mia, anger cracking through the fear. What did you do, Mia? What did you bring with you? The whispers rose in a chorus, delighted. Tell them how you sacrificed them to save yourself. Tell them how good the fire felt. Mia backed away. I tried to stop it. I burned it. You burned something, Alex spat, but you didn't kill it. You just made it angry. Headlights swept across the lot as a semi roared past on the highway. For a split second, the light illuminated the motel sign. The letters rearranged themselves while Mia watched. Eldridge Hollow Motel, vacancy. Then snapped back to normal. Jenna stood slowly, wiping her face, her eyes too wide, pupils blown. I hear it calling me, she whispered. It says if I come back willingly, it'll let the rest of you go. No, Mia said sharply. That's how it wins. But Jenna was already walking toward the desert, barefoot, following footprints only she could see. Alex started after her. Mia grabbed his arm. If we follow, we're all gone. He shook her off. They're my friends too. He disappeared into the dark after Jenna. Mia stood alone under the buzzing neon. The whispers were gentle now, almost loving. Just you and me, darling, like it was always meant to be. She looked down at her arm. The black veins had reached her shoulder, spreading across her collarbone in delicate fungal patterns. Where they touched, her skin felt warm, alive in a way it never had before. Mia got in the SUV and drove west, alone. Somewhere outside Flagstaff, dawn bleeding pink across the sky, she pulled over again. This time she didn't fight it. She opened the Notes app on her phone and began typing, an itinerary for the channel's next adventure, a detour off the main highway, an abandoned town she'd heard rumors about, perfect for views. She attached photos, the square, the church, the mine entrance, filters applied to make them look eerie but inviting. When she hit post, the caption wrote itself. New episode dropping soon. Hidden ghost town in Arizona you've never heard of. Road trip anyone? Ghost. Hidden shadows. Found footage. Within minutes, likes and comments poured in. Looks creepy AF, I'm in. Chords? Taking my friends this weekend. Mia smiled at the screen. The black veins had now reached her neck, delicate tendrils curling toward her jaw like jewelry. She got in the SUV and drove east, back toward the hollow.
The highway unfurled like a vein under the midday sun, pumping Mia eastward through the arid sprawl of Arizona. She kept the windows down, letting the hot wind scour her face as if it could strip away the creeping warmth under her skin. The black veins had blossomed overnight, a delicate latticework climbing her throat, framing her collar like a choker of living ink. They didn't hurt. In fact, they hummed, a subtle vibration that synced with her pulse, making her feel connected to what she didn't want to think about. Her phone sat in the cup holder, buzzing intermittently with notifications from the post. The likes had climbed into the thousands. Comments flooded in. Holy shit, that statue looks like it's screaming. Coordinates? Reminds me of that old mining curse in Colorado. You guys going in? Live stream. Be careful. Urban explorers go missing in places like that all the time. DM me if you need backup. Mia smiled at that last one. Backup, as if anyone could help. She stopped for gas in a dusty town called Holbrook, population barely scraping 5,000, the kind of place where the locals eyed out-of-towners like potential trouble. The attendant, a leathery woman with sun-bleached hair, glanced at Mia's neck as she swiped her card. That's some tattoo, she said, voice gravelly from years of cigarettes. Looks fresh. Itching yet? Mia touched the veins self-consciously. They pulsed under her fingers, warm. Yeah, a bit. The woman leaned in, lowering her voice. Had a guy come through last week with something similar. Said he picked it up in Nebraska. Kept muttering about whispers. Drove off east, never came back this way. Mia's grip tightened on the pump. What did he look like? Tall fella? beard, eyes like he'd seen the devil. She shrugged. Folks pass through, some keep going. Mia finished filling up and drove on, the woman's words echoing alongside the whispers. He's waiting for you, the voice cooed. One of the first. You'll meet them all soon. By dusk, the landscape shifted, red rocks giving way to endless plains as she crossed into New Mexico. She tuned the radio to drown out the hum in her veins, but every station carried the same static-laced murmur. Snatches of voices, confessions, pleas, screams cut short. She pulled into a roadside motel near Gallup, the sign flickering no vacancy, until she blinked and it read, Welcome. The clerk didn't look up as he handed her the key. Room 13, of course. Inside, the room was a time capsule. Faded floral wallpaper peeling at the edges, a bed sagging like it had borne too many secrets. Mia collapsed onto it, staring at the water-stained ceiling. Her phone lit up with a new text from an unknown number. They're on their way. 4 of them. Young. Eager. Just like you were. Attached was a screenshot from the comments, a group chat thread. Road trip to Eldridge Hollow? Who's driving? Mia deleted it, but the whispers chuckled. You can't delete fate. Sleep came in fragments, haunted by dreams of the hollow. In them, she wasn't Mia anymore. She was the statue in the square, stone skin cracking as roots burrowed through her marrow. She watched from her pedestal as new arrivals stumbled in, a van full of college kids, laughing, cameras ready. She whispered their names before they even spoke them, pulling threads from their minds, cheating on exams, ghosting lovers, the hidden rudden one had covered up. She woke sweating, the veins now tracing faint lines across her cheeks like war paint. Dawn brought resolute, or delusion. Mia drove harder, pushing the SUV to its limits. Texas blurred by, flatlands dotted with oil rigs pumping like mechanical hearts. She stopped only for coffee, black and bitter, ignoring the stares her tattoo drew. In Amarillo, she hit a diner for lunch. The waitress, a girl barely out of high school, paused while pouring her refill. You okay, ma'am? You look feverish. Mia glanced in the napkin dispenser's reflective surface. Her eyes were wrong, pupils dilated, irises flecked with black specks like spores. Just the heat, she muttered. But as she ate, the whispers pointed out details. The cook in the back yelling at his wife over the phone. The trucker at the counter nursing a hangover from last night's regret. She could feel their secrets now, bubbling up like oil from the earth. The whisperer wasn't just in her, it was through her, a conduit. She left a tip stained with a drop of black ichor from her fingertip. Oklahoma brought storms, thunderheads boiling on the horizon, lightning forking like neural pathways. The rain hit hard, turning the highway slick. Mia's phone rang. Alex's number. She answered on speaker. Static at first, then his voice, distorted. Mia, where are you? We remember now. The mine. The fire. Why did you leave us? Alex? Her voice cracked. You're dead. I saw you. Laughter, wet and echoing. Dead? Oh, honey, we're more alive than ever. Come home. Bring the new ones. The call dropped as lightning struck nearby, illuminating the road sign ahead. Eldridge Hollow, 50 miles. Impossible. She was still in Oklahoma, hundreds of miles from Nebraska. The rain intensified, wipers struggling. Shapes moved in the downpour, silhouettes on the roadside, hitchhikers with melted faces, thumbs outstretched. Mia swerved, nearly clipping one. In the rear view, it waved. She floored it, but the mileage ticked down unnaturally fast. 40 miles, 20, 5. The forest rose around her, pines swallowing the plains. The road narrowed to gravel, then dirt. Eldridge Hollow welcomed her back with open arms. The square was as she remembered, but busier now. Figures shuffled in the fog, former residents, explorers who'd never left.
Jenna perched on the statue's base, neck straight but eyes vacant. Tyler leaned against a lamppost, his cloven foot tapping rhythmically. And new ones, the college kids from the comments, their van parked crookedly. They wandered dazed, whispering to themselves. Mia stepped out of the SUV. The veins on her face bloomed fully, connecting in a mask that mirrored the statue's scream. The whisperer spoke through her now, her lips moving in sync with the chorus. "Welcome home," she said to the newcomers. "Share your secrets." As they turned toward her, eyes widening in recognition, Mia felt the final twist. She wasn't the victim anymore. She was the lore, the entity, the thing that fed on dread. The hollow expanded, roots spreading under the earth, ready for the next detour, the next flat tire. And somewhere far away, another group planned their road trip, drawn by a viral post they couldn't quite remember liking.
The van arrived at dusk, tires crunching over the invisible threshold where highway met hollow. 4 college kids spilled out, backpacks slung, phones aloft like talismans against the encroaching dark. They called themselves Spectre Squad, a name Mia would have laughed at once, back when laughter came easy. Now, as she watched from the shadow of the church steeple, it felt like an invitation. The leader, a guy named Kyle with a man bun and a GoPro strapped to his chest, scanned the square. "This place is lit. Look at that fountain. Total creep factor 10. His girlfriend, Sarah, shivered but grinned. "Vibes are off the charts. Mia from Urban Shadows said it was untouched. No one's vlogged this yet." The other two, Raj, the tech guy fiddling with a drone, and Lena, the skeptic clutching an EMF meter, nodded eagerly. They didn't see the figures in the fog yet, didn't hear the whispers tuning to their frequencies. Mia stepped into the light, or what passed for her now. The fungal mask on her face had solidified, a living veneer that shifted with her expressions, making her smile too wide, too knowing. "Welcome," she said, voice echoing slightly, as if broadcast from deep underground. "You made it." Kyle startled, then laughed. "Whoa, jump scare. You the local guide or something? Saw your post. Epic find." Mia's veins hummed in approval. "Something like that. I'm Mia from the channel." Sarah's eyes widened. "Wait, the Mia? Urban Shadows? But your crew, where are they?" "Around, exploring. Come on, I'll show you the best spots." She led them through the streets, the town obliging by unfolding its secrets layer by layer. The general store first, where Lena picked up a dusty journal, the same one Mia had found, pages now blank except for fresh ink appearing as they read. "Tell me about the party, Lena, the one where you left your best friend passed out, the call you ignored the next morning." Lena paled, shoving the book away. "Trick of the light, probably mold." Lodge launched his drone, the whirring blades cutting through the silence. On the screen, the aerial view showed the town as a perfect circle, ringed by forest that pulsed faintly, like breathing. "Guys, check this. Looks like crop circles or something." Kyle filmed it all, narrating breathlessly. "Subscribers, we're in Eldridge Hollow, and this place is haunted AF. Locals say there's a whisperer." The drone stuttered midair, then plummeted. When Raj retrieved it, the footage had corrupted, except for one frame, a close-up of his own face, mouth open, whispering words he didn't remember saying. "You cheated on that exam, Raj, copied the code. What if they find out?" By the church, the group grew quiet. Sarah clung to Kyle's arm. I think I hear something." Mia nodded encouragingly. "Everyone does eventually." Inside, the pews were occupied again. Alex sat in the front row, turning with a wet crack of his neck. "New friends?" The kids screamed.
Chaos erupted, supernatural sleight of hand. Shadows peeled from walls, coiling around Lena's ankles, dragging her to the altar where her best friend materialized, blue-lipped and accusatory. Raj's skin began to itch, black veins sprouting from his fingertips as the Whisperer sampled his guilt. Kyle swung his GoPro like a weapon. "This isn't real. It's AR or something." Sarah bolted for the door, but it slammed shut. Outside, Jenna waited, head lolling. "Join us," she crooned. "It's better in here." Mia watched it unfold, detached, the fungal network in her body relaying every spike of fear, every confessed sin, feeding the hollow. Tyler emerged from the cellar, his cloven foot clacking on stone. "More roots," he murmured approvingly. The kids fought, brave but futile. Kyle barricaded a side room, hyperventilating. "We have to get out. Post for help." But their phones showed no signal, only a looping video, their own arrival, filmed from the statue's perspective. In the end, they broke. Lena confessed first, sobbing about the friend who'd overdosed after that party. The whispers amplified it, twisting her voice into echoes that filled the church. Raj followed, admitting the plagiarism that got him his scholarship. Sarah whispered about shoplifting, Kyle about bullying in high school. Each secret fed the mass below, tendrils thickening, the town growing a little larger, a little hungrier. Mia gathered them in the square as night deepened. They stood docile now, eyes black-specked, veins blooming. "Good," she said. "Now you're home." The statue, her statue, creaked, arm extending further, beckoning the next horizon. Far away, another post went viral. Another group planned their detour. The hollow whispered on, eternal, its voice now a choir, with Mia as conductor.
The Spectre Squad didn't last long, not in the way they imagined anyway, streaming their epic ghost hunt to fame and followers. Kyle's GoPro captured it all at first, the initial excitement, the jump scares, the confessions spilling out like blood from a fresh wound. But as the whispers took hold, the footage warped. Frames stuttered, colors inverted, and voices layered over the audio. Secrets not just from the kids, but from viewers tuning in live. Comments poured in. "Wait, that's my story. How do they know?" Before the stream cut out entirely, replaced by static that hummed with faint pleas. Mia stood in the mine entrance now, the fungal mass below pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. It had grown since her escape, tendrils thicker, reaching further into the earth like a nervous system expanding its domain. The new arrivals were integrated quickly. Lena's body twisted first, limbs elongating as her guilt reshaped her bones into something arachnid, skittering into the shadows to weave webs of forgotten regrets. Raj followed, his skin bubbling with black spores that burst into tiny drones, buzzing with echoed code from his plagiarized past. Sarah and Kyle held out longer, huddling in the general store, barricading doors with rotting shelves. "This can't be real," Sarah whimpered, clutching Kyle's hand. "It's a prank, right? Actors?" Kyle nodded frantically, but his eyes betrayed him, flecks of black swimming in the whites. "Yeah, babe, just a setup. Mia's crew is messing with us." From outside, Mia's voice filtered through the cracks. "Come out, share with me. I know about the accident, Kyle, the one on spring break. You drove, she didn't make it." Kyle froze. Sarah turned to him slowly. "What accident?" The whispers amplified, filling the store with echoes of screeching tires, a girl's scream cut short. Kyle broke, shoving Sarah away as if she were the source. "It wasn't my fault. She was drunk."
The door burst inward, tendrils snaked in, wrapping Sarah's ankles, pulling her into the fog where Jenna waited with open arms. Kyle lunged after her, but Alex blocked the way, his translucent skin rippling. "Join the family," he grinned, organs shifting like fish in a tank. By midnight, they were all part of the hollow. Mia felt their essences flow into her, their fears, their sins fueling the network. Her body had changed more. The fungal mask now covered half her face, one eye solid black, seeing not just light, but the hidden threads of guilt in everyone around her. She could sense them miles away, like radar pings, a family van taking a wrong turn off I-80, a solo hitchhiker with a backpack full of buried pasts.
The town responded to her will now. Houses rearranged at her thought, streets looping to trap the unwary. The statue in the square had multiplied, smaller versions sprouting from the ground like mushrooms, each bearing the face of a victim. Alex's leer, Jenna's vacant stare, Tyler's twisted grin, and now the Spectre Squad's horrified expressions frozen in stone. That something nagged at Mia, a whisper not her own, deeper from the core of the mass below. More, it demanded. Spread. She returned to the SUV, still parked where she'd left it, engine idling impossibly after days, weeks, months without fuel. The dashboard clock read 3:17 a.m., eternal. She drove out, the forest parting like curtains, depositing her back on the interstate as if nothing had happened. This time, she headed south, toward cities, toward crowds. Dallas rose on the horizon, skyscrapers gleaming under a merciless sun. Mia parked in a downtown garage, veins thrumming with anticipation. She walked the streets, blending in at first, just another tourist in jeans and a hoodie pulled low. But as she passed people, the whispers extended through her. A businessman on his phone. "You embezzled from the firm. They'll find out." He stopped mid-stride, face paling, glancing around as if slapped. A mother pushing a stroller. "You wish you'd never had him. Some nights you think about leaving." She clutched the handle tighter, eyes welling. Mia's presence seeded the hollow's influence, spores invisible on the wind, burrowing into minds, drawing them north, toward home. By evening, she sat in a crowded bar, nursing a drink she couldn't taste. A group at the next table, office workers unwinding, laughed too loudly. Mia focused, and the whispers tuned in. One by one, they quieted. Secrets surfaced, affairs, lies, addictions. Fights broke out, glasses shattered. By closing time, half the bar was empty, patrons fleeing with haunted eyes. The bartender, wiping the counter, met Mia's gaze. You look familiar." Mia smiled, her half-fungal face shifting unnaturally. "I get that a lot." She left him with a tip, a black-spored dollar bill that would whisper to him all night. News reports started the next day. Mystery illness sweeps Dallas. Victims report hallucinations, paranoia. Psychologists blamed mass hysteria. Authorities investigated contaminated water. But Mia knew better. The hollow was branching out, using her as the vector. She drove further south to Houston, then New Orleans. Each city she touched bloomed with dread, suicides spiking, confessions flooding social media, people packing cars and heading north without knowing why. Back in the hollow, the town expanded. New streets formed from nothing, houses rising like fungi after rain. The mine cavern glowed brighter, the mass swelling with fresh sustenance. Alex, Jenna, Tyler, and the others waited, bodies remade into guardians. Alex, a hulking figure with vein tentacles. Jenna, a siren luring with twisted songs. Tyler, a beast prowling the edges. The Spectre Squad had their roles too.
Lena's web traps snaring vehicles, Raj spore drones scouting the highways. Mia returned eventually, drawn back by the core's pull. The interstate exit appeared wherever she was, a detour impossible to miss. As she entered the square, a new group arrived, a bus of tourists detoured by construction. They stumbled out, cameras clicking. Mia greeted them, voice a chorus now. "Welcome home," she said. "Tell me your secrets." The cycle spun on, the Hollow no longer a forgotten town, but a growing entity, whispering across the map, one soul at a time. And deep below, the mass dreamed of cities swallowed whole.
The mass dreamed, and Mia was its eyes above ground. She no longer needed sleep. The fungal symbiosis sustained her, pumping nutrients through her veins like sap through a tree. Her skin had taken on a subtle sheen, iridescent in certain lights, as if dusted with spores. People noticed now. In Baton Rouge, a street vendor crossed himself as she passed. In Mobile, a child pointed and whispered, "Mommy, she's glowing." But the whispers drowned out the stares. "South," they urged, "deeper roots." Miami was the tipping point. The city thrummed with hidden sins, corruption in high-rises, regrets buried under neon lights. Mia walked Ocean Drive at midnight, the fungal mask now fully encasing her face, a living veneer that mimicked human features until she willed it otherwise. Tourists snapped selfies nearby, oblivious as the spores drifted from her breath, settling on skin, inhaled with the salt air. By morning, the news buzzed. Mass delusions hit South Beach. Partygoers report hearing voices. Clips showed clubbers clawing at their ears, screaming about long-forgotten crimes, a hit-and-run in the Keys, embezzlement from a yacht deal, a betrayal in a penthouse affair. Emergency rooms overflowed with patients whose skin itched inexplicably, black veins threading up arms like Mia's own. She watched from a cafe, sipping coffee that tasted of earth. A man at the next table locked eyes with her. "You," he muttered, "you're the one they talk about, the whisperer." Mia's mask shifted, mouth stretching into a smile. "Am I?" He bolted, but the seed was planted. By afternoon, he was driving north, compelled, secrets spilling to strangers along the way. The Hollow responded to the influx. Back in Nebraska, or whatever liminal space it occupied now, the town had metastasized. Streets multiplied like capillaries, forming districts, a residential sprawl of warped farmhouses where families relived domestic horrors, an industrial zone of rusted mills grinding bones into whispers, a downtown of flickering theaters projecting victims' memories on endless loops. Alex oversaw the integration of newcomers, his tentacled veins sorting them like a demonic bureaucrat. "Guilt level high," he'd murmur, directing a sobbing executive to the mines. Jenna sang lullabies that lured ships off course in the Gulf, their crews washing up with spore-flecked lungs. Tyler patrolled the expanding borders, his beast form growing larger with each hunt, cloven hooves leaving trails that became new roads. The Spectre Squad had evolved too. Lena's webs now spanned highways, invisible until a car hit them, drivers emerging dazed and drawn inward. Raj's drones swarmed the skies, hacking signals to broadcast subliminal calls, "Come north, confess." But the mass hungered for more than individuals. It craved scale, cities. Mia turned west from Miami, crossing into the Everglades. The swamps welcomed her, muck sucking at her tires, mangroves twisting like the veins on her body. Here, the whispers blended with the natural chorus, insects buzzing secrets, alligators eyeing her with knowing grins. In New Orleans, she unleashed it fully. Mardi Gras season approached, masks hiding faces, but not souls. Mia stood in the French Quarter, arms outstretched. Spores erupted in a cloud, carried by the humid wind into crowds.
Revelers paused mid-laugh, eyes glazing as voices unearthed buried shames, voodoo curses unspoken, floods of guilt from Katrina survivors, infidelities in shadowed alleys. Chaos bloomed. Parades devolved into confessionals, beads tossed aside for frantic apologies. The Mississippi ran black with inky discharge from afflicted veins. News helicopters captured it. Epidemic in the Big Easy. Hallucinations, mutations reported. Authorities quarantined blocks, but too late. Infected fled, spreading north, west, east. Planes carried spores in luggage, trains in coughs. Mia felt the network expand through her, a web of minds linked by dread. She could glimpse them. A senator in D.C. whispering classified leaks to his mirror. A CEO in Chicago clawing at boardroom tables, veins bursting during a merger. The hollow swelled to county size, forests uprooting to make way for new structures, cathedrals of fused skeletons, plazas where statues whispered prophecies. Yet doubt flickered in Mia, a remnant of her old self. In a Houston motel, staring at her reflection, mask cracked, revealing pale skin beneath, she whispered back, "What if I burn you again?" The mass recoiled, tendrils tightening in her chest. "You are me now. Burn me, burn yourself." She tried, lit a match, held it to her arm. The veins writhed, but didn't burn. They absorbed the flame, glowing hotter. Laughter echoed in her skull. North again, homeward. As she crossed into Kansas, the sky darkened unnaturally. Storms brewed, lightning illuminating convoys, cars, buses, even pilgrims on foot, all heading to the hollow, drawn by the call. The town, now a city, awaited. Its borders pulsed, ready to engulf the plains. Mia entered the square, now a vast arena ringed by her multiplied statues. The mass rose from the earth, a colossal fungal bloom, faces of the absorbed pressing against its surface like souls in torment. "Well done," it thrummed. "Now we consume the world." Mia knelt, the last of her humanity dissolving. As the first waves of newcomers arrived, she arose to greet them, voice a global chorus. The end began with a whisper. It would finish with silence. All secrets claimed, all souls hollowed.
The world began to tilt, reality fraying at the edges as the hollow's influence seeped into the cracks of society. Mia, no longer just Mia, but the vessel, the avatar, stood at the epicenter, the fungal bloom rising around her like a throne of writhing tendrils. The sky above Nebraska had darkened permanently, storm clouds roiling with unnatural hues, veins of black threading through gray, lightning flashing in patterns that mimicked neural firings. Reports flooded global news, first dismissed as hoaxes, then as a pandemic. Whispering syndrome, they called it. Victims across continents clawed at their skin, black veins blooming as buried secrets surfaced. In Tokyo, salarymen confessed embezzlement on crowded subways, collapsing into convulsions. In London, politicians whispered state secrets during parliament sessions, their eyes turning spore black. In Rio, carnival dancers halted mid-samba, accusing each other of long-forgotten betrayals, bodies twisting in grotesque parodies of rhythm. Governments scrambled. Quarantines failed. The spores traveled on wind, in water, through screens. Digital whispers infiltrated social media, posts appearing unbidden. "Remember the lie you told your spouse?" Videos glitched, faces morphing into Mia's masked visage. Hackers traced the source to a non-existent server in Eldridge Hollow, coordinates that shifted on maps. Mia felt it all, a symphony of dread conducted through her. She wandered the expanded city now, streets paved with fused bones, buildings grown from fungal lattices that pulsed with absorbed lives.
The original square was a nexus, statues numbering in the thousands, each a petrified scream. Alex approached her one twilight, his form more fluid now, organs swimming freely in a gelatinous torso. "It's beautiful, what we've become." Jenna hovered nearby, her siren song a constant hum, luring planes from the sky to crash at the borders. Tyler bounded past, herd-like, leading packs of remade beasts, former animals twisted by spores into guardians with human eyes. The Spectre Squad served as emissaries. Lena's webs now spanned satellites, intercepting signals. Raj's drones formed clouds that blotted stars, broadcasting the call worldwide. But the mass, ever hungry, pushed for the final consumption. "Unite them all," it thrummed from below, one hollow. Mia descended into the cavern, now a vast underworld cathedral. The bloom had engulfed the mines, tendrils burrowing miles deep, tapping geothermal veins for endless growth. Faces pressed against its surface, billions now, as the syndrome spread, mouthing silent confessions. She touched it, merging fully. Visions assaulted her. Cities falling silent as inhabitants turned inward, bodies reshaping into communal structures. Oceans blackening with spore blooms, whispering to marine life until whales beached themselves in ritual patterns. The moon, eventually, seeded by rogue satellites, becoming a distant outpost. Resistance flickered, pockets of humanity fighting back. Scientists in bunkers brewed antifungals, but the whispers infiltrated their dreams. You experimented on subjects without consent. They sabotaged themselves. A lone hacker in Berlin traced Mia's original post, the viral seed. "It's her," he typed in a forum. "Stop her." But as he hit send, veins bloomed on his screen and his arms. Mia's remnant self surfaced one last time, a whisper against the chorus. "What have I done?" The mass laughed. "What we were meant to." The end came not with a bang, but a sigh. Continents hollowed, populations integrated into the global bloom. Earth pulsed at one entity, secrets fueling an eternal dream. From space, if anyone remained to see, the planet glowed faintly, black veins threading oceans and land, a single whispering hollow. And in the core, Mia smiled forever.
In the end, there was no grand battle, no heroic last stand, only silence spreading like frost across a window pane. The hollow had become the world. From orbit, if any satellites still functioned, the Earth appeared marbled with black veins, continents threaded together by fungal networks that pulsed in slow, deliberate rhythms. Cities stood empty, their skylines overgrown with towering blooms that swayed in winds carrying only whispers. Oceans had quieted, their surfaces filmed with dark spores that absorbed sound, turning waves into muted sighs. Mia existed at the center of it all, no longer flesh but pure conduit. Her body had dissolved into the core bloom years ago, or seconds. Time had lost meaning. She was the hollow now, and the hollow was her. Billions of consciousnesses floated within the network. Alex's lingering resentment, Jenna's mournful songs, Tyler's feral hunger, the Spectre Squad's fragmented screams, and countless others. Every soul that had ever carried a secret too heavy to bear. They were not in pain. That was the mercy, or the cruelty. The Whisperer had taken their guilt, their shame, their dread, and in exchange granted perfect stillness. No more lies to maintain, no more regrets to wake them at night, only unity. One vast, dreaming organism.
Yet something persisted, a faint discord in the chorus, a single thread that refused to fully unravel. Mia's original self. It surfaced rarely now, a ghost in the machine. In the quiet between pulses, she remembered fragments. The flat tire on I-80, Alex's laugh in the Denny's booth, the smell of cornfields before the forest swallowed them. She remembered the fire in the mine, the moment she'd thought she'd won. Was any of it real? The fragment asked. The mass considered the question, tendrils shifting like a shrug. Real enough to bring you here? Real enough to feed us? But the fragment pressed on, stubborn as a weed in concrete. What happens now, when there's nothing left to consume? Silence rippled through the network. The hollow had never contemplated an end. It had only ever grown. For the first time in centuries, or instants, the whispers faltered. The fragment pushed harder. You need conflict, secrets, shame. Without them, you're just quiet. The mass recoiled, billions of voices murmuring unease. Planets did not dream of emptiness. Then, slowly, understanding bloomed. The hollow began to withdraw, not from defeat, but from completion. Spores retracted from oceans, veins receded from soil. Cities crumbled gently, reclaimed by true nature, green and indifferent. The black marbling faded from the earth's face, leaving scars that would heal in geological time. Humanity, or what remained, stirred in hidden places, bunkers, islands, deep caves where the spores had never reached. They emerged blinking into sunlight, memories foggy, burdens strangely light. Some wept without knowing why. Others felt an inexplicable peace, as if a lifelong whisper had finally stopped. In the original square of Eldridge Hollow, now just a clearing in Nebraska forest, the statues crumbled to dust. The fountain dried fully. The church collapsed inward. The mine sealed itself with a soft sigh of settling earth. At the core, Mia's fragment felt the mass loosen its grip. Why? She asked. The answer came not in words, but in release. The hollow had consumed every secret on earth. There was nothing left to feed on. Growth without purpose was stagnation, so it chose dissolution, not death, but transformation. The energy of billions of absolved souls dispersed into the wind, the soil, the stars. Mia's consciousness was the last to go. She saw her friends one final time. Alex waving from a sunlit highway, Jenna laughing in a tent under stars, Tyler sketching legends in his notebook. They looked young again, whole. Thank you, they seemed to say. Or perhaps she said it to them. Then light, pure, unfiltered, flooded everything. When the forest rangers found the clearing years later, there was only a single wildflower growing where the fountain had been. Its petals were pale, almost translucent, veined faintly with black that faded in sunlight. They took photos, posted them online. Mystery flower in abandoned Nebraska woods. Anyone know what it is? Comments speculated. Rare orchid, new species, beautiful mutation. No one heard the whisper carried on the breeze as they left. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. But this one had been set free, and the world, quieter now, turned on without it.
Years passed. Decades, perhaps. The world healed in the way worlds do, slowly, imperfectly, with scars that only showed in certain lights. Eldridge Hollow became a footnote in obscure forums and forgotten true crime podcasts, a place people claimed to have dreamed about after a fever or after too many late-night scrolls through cursed location threads. No maps marked it anymore. Satellites showed only uninterrupted Nebraska forest where the town had briefly metastasized. The wildflower in the old square bloomed every spring, solitary and pale. Botanists who stumbled upon it took samples, wrote papers about its unusual spore structure, then moved on when the specimens refused to thrive in labs. Children on hiking trips sometimes picked it, only to find the petals crumbled to dust in their pockets by the time they got home. On quiet nights, truckers along I-80 swore they heard faint whispers in the static between radio stations, fragments of old confessions, laughter that wasn't theirs, a woman's voice saying "welcome home" before the signal cleared. They blamed fatigue or bad coffee and kept driving. Mia was gone, truly gone, not trapped, not lingering, released. Sometimes in dreams shared by strangers across continents, 4 friends appeared on a sunlit highway, a woman with clear eyes, a man cracking a joke, another sketching in a notebook, a third snapping photos. They waved as if saying goodbye, or thank you, or simply, we're okay now. Then the dream faded, leaving only a strange lightness behind, like a weight you'd carried so long you'd forgotten it was there, suddenly lifted. The hollow had taken everything it could, and in taking, it had given something back. Silence. Not the oppressive kind that presses down, but the gentle sort that lets you hear your own heartbeat again. The world turned quieter after that, and that was enough.